Hi beauties, welcome to my channel, Refining Beauty, where we focus on faith plus clean beauty and lifestyle. With me, Yaunee Michelle. And today I'll be sharing with you one of my favorite clean beauty products that I'm using right now. In addition, I'll be spilling the tea on my newly published book, Make the Most of Your College Years, a Primer for Success. In honor of my book, I'll be talking about purpose from the book of Esther. I'll be providing some practical tips on purpose and also how to find your purpose. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel and buckle your seatbelts and let's get started. Hi beauties, welcome back to my channel, Refining Beauty, where we focus on faith plus clean beauty and lifestyle. So as you know, I have my drumroll clean beauty product of today, and my product is actually not makeup, it is soap. And this is Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, and it's actually in hemp rose, which smells really good, by the way. And so I'm not going to be long on this product because I really want to get in today's episode. But just to give you an idea of Dr. Bronner's soap, if you haven't heard of it, they're considered a clean, vegan, cruelty-free soap. You could pretty much use this soap for anything. And the awesome part about this soap is that it needs to be diluted. So you don't have to just pour it into your sponge and wash your body. They actually recommend for you to mix it in with a little bit of water in a soap container, and then use that to use to wash your face or um, wash for your washing, whatever you decide to use it for. I actually did a video using Dr. Bronner's soap. So if you haven't looked at it, check it out because I use this product to wash my face. It's probably the cleanest product that you can use to put on your face other than going out to your stores and spending $30, $40, $50 on face wash. Get the clean, vegan, purified soap like Dr. Bronner. Add a little bit of water, add a little jojoba oil, almond oil, whatever favorite oil that you want to use, and you could turn it into a face wash, which is what I've been doing. And I've actually been using Dr. Bronner's soap to wash my face probably since the summertime. And I've really noticed a big difference in my face. I don't have a lot of breakouts. And then I actually put it on a scrubber, like a scrubber sponge, and kind of scrub my face with this soap. So that's what I like about it. Again, you could use this soap to wash your face. You could use it to wash your hair. You could use it to wash your body. You could use it to shave your legs. You can use it to as a detergent to wash your clothes. You can use it as a dish detergent to wash your dishes. Dr. Bronner is basically an all-purpose wash. If I could sum it up in a nutshell, there's only one thing that I don't like, and it's not a big deal. But I know as far as body washes, I don't know if you're like me, but I really do enjoy um, creamy body washes. But I can give it up every now and again and just use Dr. Bronner's, especially if I run out of the creamy body wash, which is what I typically buy every now and again. So, if it's in between body washes, I run out of the creamy body wash, I'll probably spend a week or so using Dr. Bronner's instead until I feel like going to buy more body wash. But in any case, it's an all-purpose soap. There's several scents that you can use. I This one again is hemp rose. I've used the baby soap or the baby scent, which smells really good, very light, and you can use it on your kids too, especially your daughters. I have two daughters. I use it to wash their hair every now and again. Again, I just add a few drops of oil just to add some moisture to the shampoo. Um, and also, I believe there's a peppermint scent and a lavender scent as well. The lavender is really good too. I've used that before. But right now, my favorite right now is the hemp rose. And also the baby scent is the one that I use for my face. I typically use for my face. And also I would probably use on my hair too, given the light scent that it has. So this is the product of the day, Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. This is a 32-ounce bottle. Usually a size like this typically runs about $15. You can find Dr. Bronner's on Amazon. You can find them on Walmart. At Walmart, you can find them at Target stores. You probably can also find them at any major grocery store chain. I know ours is Publix, so I've seen it in Publix before. Also, Trader Joe's, I believe, has it as well. So check it out. If you used it, let me know how you feel about it and what else you use this product for. But basically, it's an all-purpose cleaner. And I don't know if I'll add as well. I don't know if I mentioned it, but you can also use it as an all-purpose cleaner to clean your showers, to clean your countertops in your kitchen. So it's an amazing product. I use it for pretty much everything. I'm actually almost out of it already. And it lasts a long time. I believe I bought this product maybe in July. And here we are in November and it's still going strong and I use it for pretty much everything. So try it out if you haven't. If you have, let me know what you think. So, before we get into today's episode, just know I am doing these episodes based on my newly published book, Make the Most of Your College Years, A Primer for Success. This book is on sale where all books are sold. Amazon, get it as an ebook, or you could purchase it as a hard copy. And again, it's written by me for high school students and first year college students that are just need some tips from Big Sis on how to transition to college, how to adapt to just changes that you may go through as you continue into college life, and also, what to expect when you're in high school and you're transitioning into college. So make sure you get it, pick it up. There's an activity book that goes along with it. If you want to learn more about the book or purchase the activity book, you can visit primerforcollege.com and purchase it there. Okay, so on today's episode, we are talking about purpose. So, last two episodes, we've been talking about identity, what identity is, why it's so important to know your identity. And so, purpose, I believe, flows right into identity. I feel like they go hand in hand. You can't walk in your perfect purpose if you don't know your identity. So, once you know your identity, you have to flow right into your purpose. It's easier for you to walk into your purpose when you know your identity. And so you may be thinking, okay, so what is purpose? So according to dictionary.com, purpose is the reason for which something exists or is made. Um, and it says something that exists, but I also think someone, the reason why things exist or is made. And so, just a few scriptures of what the Bible says purpose is. Jeremiah 1:5 says, I knew you before I formed you in the womb. I set you apart from me before you were born. I appointed you to be prophets to the nations. And so, this scripture was specific to Jeremiah, who is a prophet. So, just know God says, I appointed you to be a teacher to the nations. I appointed you to share the good news to the nations. I appointed you to write movies for the nations to see. So, fill in the blank of what you believe you're called to in that area. Jeremiah was called to be a prophet, but you could be called to be an artist, called to be a singer, called to be a teacher. So add your title in there. Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in the hearts in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. So just know that God knows our purpose. We may have plans in our own mind of what we want to do, what we're going to be, but ultimately God's plan prevails. And then in Philippians verses 2 and 12 and 13, it says, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. And so those are just a few scriptures that I believe just speak to purpose, speak to purpose. And then I just want to provide what the late Chadwick Boseman said about purpose, which I wholeheartedly believe is true as well. And it really just coincides to, and it culminates to what the Bible says purpose is as well. And Chadwick Boseman says it like this: purpose is not related to career. Purpose is not related to a job. It's related to what God put inside of you that you are supposed to give to the world. And so, if we can just sum it up in a nutshell, I believe purpose is fulfilling God's plan in your life and for your life, for others, and to bring Him glory as well. So, again, just to reference last week's topic on identity, just know that you cannot walk in your purpose if you don't know your identity. So if you haven't watched the episodes on identity, I strongly encourage you to go back, take a look at it before you move on to this video on purpose. And so when I was just reading the Bible and just in my prayer time, I'm like, okay, God, I'm talking about purpose. What book exemplifies purpose? And so God brought me to the book of Esther. And so I read the book of Esther, and really the book really focuses on both identity and purpose and how they tie in together. And then I'll expound on that in a moment. But in a nutshell, that's how I see the book of Esther. it talks about her identity. And then as she fulfills her identity and grasps her identity, she's able to walk in purpose. She's able to walk in power. She's able to walk in authority. And I believe that for her, it was in the natural and also in the spirit as well. And so, not only do I believe that the book of Esther is about identity and purpose, but it also displays God's sovereignty. And so, the Easton's Bible Dictionary defines God's sovereignty as his absolute right to do all things according to his own good pleasure. So, again, the book talks about identity, the book focuses on purpose, and ultimately, it focuses on God's sovereignty as well. And so, just to summarize the introduction of the book of Esther in a nutshell, so the main character in the book, of course, is Esther. Esther is raised by her cousin Mordecai because her parents had passed away. And so, during that time, or at least the first few chapters, the king is displeased with his queen. And because he's displeased with his current queen, he actually banishes her for life. And so the king says, "Okay, I'm looking for a new queen, so I'm just going to call all of the beautiful virgins in the land to look for a new queen for the throne." His staff gets the most beautiful women in the land, and he gathers them together. And so the king sees Esther, and he's like, "Okay, I like her. She's beautiful." And really, although the king is captivated by her beauty, I believe that God had given her favor by the king as well. Sometimes when guys see a girl, I'm sure, of course, she's beautiful, but then I believe sometimes guys are like, but there's something about her. There's something about her that's different from everybody else. And I believe that's what King Xerxes saw in Esther. She's beautiful just like every all of the other women, but there's something special about her. And so he decides to appoint Esther to be his new queen of his kingdom. And so Esther becomes queen. She's getting transitioned into this lifestyle of royalty. And so she's getting acquainted to this amazing lifestyle. And then all of a sudden, Mordecai um, he doesn't bow to an official of the king. So there's this official, and he considers himself a god. And so when he passes by certain officials that are working in the palace, he wants them to bow. And so Mordecai is like, no, not doing that. I respect you, but I'm not going to bow to you. The only person I'm bowing to is God. That's it. You are not a god to me. I only have one God. And so because Mordecai did not bow to this official whose name is Haman. Because Mordecai did not bow to Haman, Haman became furious and upset. And so not only did Haman become upset and want to retaliate against Mordecai, but he also decides to retaliate against the entire Jewish people. So Haman goes to the king and requests for the king to basically kill all of the Jews, to kill all of the Jews in the land. And so the king agrees. He agrees. He says, "Okay, Haman, you're my next in command. You're a high-ranking official in my court. So as you wish." The king agreed to this, not knowing that Esther is also Jewish. Esther never conveyed to the king or anyone in his any of his officials that she was a Jewish woman. So she kept that on a little low. And so, again, the king agrees. He agrees to that Haman can kill the Jews. Haman sets a date of when he plans on killing the Jews, and it has a special execution for Mordecai because Mordecai is the person that has, in his mind, caused all of this. And so, hearing this, Mordecai goes out to the countryside, rips his clothes off, and he's in deep mourning. He's in deep mourning because now, this guy, Haman, not only wants to assassinate him or execute him, but he wants to kill off the entire Jewish population in that region. And so, Esther hears about this. She hears that, Mordecai is in deep mourning. She sends a guard to see what the problem is. And so the guard reports back to Esther and says, "Hey, this is what's going on. Haman has requested for all of the Jews to be executed, to be killed." And so Esther responds back to the guard and says, "Go tell Mordecai, basically, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do." And so Mordecai says, "No, Esther, there is something you could do. You're the queen. You are the queen of this region. You have more authority than you think you have. And so Esther says, okay, she says, I'll go to the king. And so during that time, if someone were to go to the king without setting an appointment, without notifying the king, without the king's approval, they can actually be killed. And that includes the queen as well. And so Esther says, I'm going to go to the king, but just know that my life is on the line. But before I go, I want you and the Jewish people to fast and pray for 3 days for God to show me favor before I go to the king with my request for him not to allow Haman to kill the Jewish people. And so that's what the Jewish people did. They fasted, they prayed for 3 days, for God to intervene, for God to show up on their behalf so that they will not be executed at the hands of Haman. And so basically, that pretty much culminates chapters 1 through 4. And if I could just sum up the end of chapter 4, I believe it was just an enlightenment for Esther. I believe that Esther knew who she was as a person. She was very sure in herself and her identity as a Jewish woman, but she wasn't sure in herself in an identity as a queen. And so that's where I believe that God allowed Mordecai to come in and remind her who she is. Not only are you just a Jewish woman, which is how you see yourself, but let me remind you, Esther, that you're a queen now. You have power. You have the authority to change things if you want it to change. And so, how many times do we remind ourselves sometimes that, oh, I'm just this, I'm just that. I'm only, 21 years old in college trying to figure it out. I don't have any push. I don't have any power. But you have to remind yourself, God calls us a royal priesthood. We are his children. We have a king in the spiritual realm, and because God is our king in the spiritual realm, we are royalty, and we can go to our father and he will act on our behalf. And so that's how I see the book of Esther, not only in the natural but also in the spiritual. We have power and authority, and the Bible even says that we're seated in heavenly places, that we are royal priesthood, that we're a crown of beauty in the hand of our God. And so sometimes, we have to remind ourselves. And if we don't, sometimes God allows people to come our way to remind us of who we are in Christ. And so I believe that was Mordecai to Esther. Not only was he the caregiver, not only was he a relative of her, but he was someone that God used as a tool to remind Esther of who she was and also her authority, not only in the natural, but also in the spirit as well. And then I liked how chapter 4 sums it up when Mordecai reminded Esther. I like that he stated, Esther, maybe you were called queen maybe you were appointed queen for such a time as this. And so, again, fill in the blank. Maybe you were called to be a leader for such a time as this. Maybe you were called to start a nonprofit for such a time as this. Maybe you were called to volunteer at a specific school for such a time as this. So just keep that in mind as well along your journey as you find your purpose. And so Esther does his 3 day fast, and the fast is over. And so Esther, after the fast, Esther schedules a meeting to speak with the king. And so the king says, Esther, what's going on? What do you need? What do you need from me? What do you want from me? You're my queen. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it for you. And so Esther says, okay, well, King Xerxes, let's have a banquet, and then I'll tell you what I want from you. And then if we could just backtrack, Esther does have an initial appointment with the king. She says, hey, King Xerxes, I want to speak with you about a matter, but let's talk about it later. So, needless to say, Esther did not die from speaking with the king without setting an appointment. She actually, God gave her favor. She didn't, die at the hands of the king. And so she schedules this appointment, or schedules a banquet, needless to say, with the king to explain what she wanted from him. And so Esther has this banquet with the king, and they talk and they chat. And she really still at that time doesn't tell the king what she wants. And the king, is probing, and he's asking her, and she says, well, let's schedule another banquet. Let's schedule another banquet. But make sure you add Haman, the guy who wants to kill the Jews. And she doesn't add that part, but I'm just throwing it in there. She says, bring Haman with you. Bring Haman with you, and we'll talk about, what's on my heart and what I want from you, King Xerxes. And so, that just reminds me, like, Esther did not come to the forefront and say, Haman's doing this, he's going to kill my people, and da 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 da. She doesn't go in on what the problem is. And so I believe that even during the fasting, God gave Esther grace to be patient, and God gave Esther grace to be prudent. And prudent means that you're just taking your time and you're thinking things through. You're not rash on your decision. You're not quick to make a sudden decision. You're not in that person's face when they make you mad, because that's something that could be easily done, especially when your family's on the line, when your community is on the line, when your life when even when your own life is on the line. It's so easy to be caught up in our emotions, and so I believe that that chapter in the Bible just reminds me of again, God's grace to give Esther patience, to give her wisdom, and also to give her prudence before and even speaking during the time of speaking with the king. And then also chapter 5 just reminds me of how God gave her favor. God gives us favor when we seek him, and that's exactly what Esther did. And so, as we move on to Esther chapters 7 through 10, just know that Esther finally provides her request, and outs the perpetrator, Haman, by plotting to kill the Jews. And not only did God intervene, but God used Esther to redeem the Jews from death. And the king was furious that Haman basically manipulated the king to kill the Jews for his own personal gain. And so just know that the King Xerxes, he executes Haman. And it's the funny thing is Haman wanted to execute Mordecai, the cousin of Esther, but because of what Haman was secretly plotting to do, the king did unto Haman what Haman had planned on doing to Mordecai. And so to me, that just reminds me of God's redemption too. It just reminds me of God's redemption. And again, God's sovereignty to intervene. Why did he intervene? Because Esther fasted and prayed and sought God on the matter and asked God for favor and his grace, and his power, which is his sovereignty to come in and intervene and to turn things around. And he did exactly that. He worked things out in Esther and the Jews' favor, and Mordecai as well. And so not only did the king execute Haman, but he also gives Haman's property and everything that he owned to Queen Esther. So how awesome is that? Again, God turns things around for our good. And so not only did he give Esther the property, but Esther appointed Mordecai, her cousin, to oversee the property. And so that's the best part about it. And so again, here's how God's sovereignty is conveyed in chapters 10 through 7 through 10. God's sovereignty is conveyed by because they sought God, because they fasted and prayed. God not only rewards Esther, but he also rewards Mordecai as well for their actions. And not only did God answer the Jewish people through their prayer and fasting, but he also gave them privileges through the laws changed by King Xerxes. King Xerxes not only nullified the law where the Jewish people were going to be executed, but he also gave them the privilege to protect themselves. He basically said, if anybody tries to come against you, Jewish people, you can kill them. You have the right to kill them, and you will not go to jail. You won't be executed. And so the people feared in the land. They were so afraid of what the Jews would do that people actually began to convert. They began to convert um, just out of fear, out of pure fear. And it just reminds me of the scripture in the Bible where it says, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And having done all, stand. Esther did what she needed to do, and then she watched God work. That's just how simple it could be. Seek, fast, pray, obey, and then watch God work. And that's exactly what happened towards the end of the book. And then the last three chapters basically just displays the depth of God's victory, of the victory of God that was given to the Jews during the time of King Xerxes. He gave them so much victory that, again, the people began to convert to their religion, and people feared them. And then because they had so much victory, that time frame was just stamped as a time of celebration for the Jewish religion for the Jewish people, and I'm not surprised if they're still celebrating this particular celebration to this day in honor of what Queen Esther and Mordecai did for the Jewish people and how God redeemed them out of the hand once again of complete annihilation of their entire community in that region. So just to bring it all in, what can you learn from this story? What can we learn from this story? Just know in order to truly walk in purpose, we must surrender our will for God so that He can have absolute right to do all things according to His good pleasure. And it even just reminds me of Jeremiah 29:11 that God says, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you a future and a hope. And He did exactly that for the Jewish people. It also just reminds me that God will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think. Just think, Esther and Mordecai, all they wanted to do is for Haman not to murder or not to kill the Jewish people in that region. So not only did God answer, but He also gave them victory in every area. He gave them land. They were able to defend themselves and not have to be at the hand of the king if they killed someone. They had property. They had a queen of Jewish descent that could represent them. They had Mordecai, who was also exalted into Haman's position. He actually became the king's right hand man. So Mordecai was elevated. He was elevated also in his ranking in the king's kingdom. And so also we can learn that Esther again realized her authority after her request was granted. So once again, Esther knew her identity as a Jewish woman, but she didn't truly know her identity as a queen. And I believe that after God intervened for the Jewish people, she was enlightened on her identity and her purpose as a queen, that she has power, that she had authority, because the king says, tell me, Esther, what do you want? Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And she asked, and he said, okay, I'll do it. And not only did he give her what she asked for, but he gave her more than what she asked for as well. And so just know that part of our identity is understanding our authority so that we can walk in purpose. I'm also reminded that again, King Xerxes represents God, our Father in the Spirit. Our Father is the King. He is the ruler and supreme over all, and He will give us what we ask for if it is in His will. And just like Esther, God will give us what we ask for, but sometimes it does require fasting and praying and waiting with patience, knowing that He will fulfill our requests and give us what we ask for. And so here's just some practical tips on purpose. Just know that purpose is a unique gift that God has given you, that no one else has. What makes you unique? What can you do that no one else can do? Purpose is also something that you're passionate about. It's a natural ability, something that other people may have a hard time doing. And I can even just give you an example for me. Like, I love structure, I love organizing, I love getting things in order. And it's just something simple that I've noticed about myself, but I never thought about going into that career. It wasn't until years after college that I said, you know what, I think I like project management. And funny enough, I actually fell into project management. So I ended up getting a postmaster's in project management because I had heard about it. And when I tell you, I loved that postmaster's degree, or I loved the courses that I took when getting my postmaster's degree in project management, it was like the light bulb went off. And then the doors began to open, and I was able to work for notable Fortune 100 companies in Orlando, Florida. You know, I was able to work at Universal Studios. I was able to work at all of these big name companies as a consultant working in project management. And when I tell you that all happened probably within 6 months after I got the postmaster's degree, like the doors just began to fling open. But it was something that was just a natural ability. And I realized that that was something I enjoyed, that I didn't even think was a career that I thought about going into. And so I did a complete 180 career change, career shift based on this one postmaster's degree that I loved and enjoyed. And I and I thrived in my career as a certified project manager. For you, when it comes to just natural ability, what are you good at that other people struggle with? Is it doing makeup? Is it fashion? Is it putting clothes together? Is it organizing? It could even be something simple as math. Like I love math, not me, but you may love math. And just figuring out how you're able to fulfill your purpose as a person who has a passion for math. And that just brings me to my next point. Your purpose does not have to be one thing that you do for the rest of your life. Like Chadwick Boseman says, it's not your job, it's not your career, it's the things that God has placed on the inside of you for you to share with the world. God has given us so many talents and gifts, and He doesn't allow you just to sit on them. He doesn't allow us, and I'm sure He doesn't even just give us one. And even in the book that I wrote, I speak of LeBron James and whom I admire. LeBron James, he grew up in the hood. He used basketball as his way out. And then as he began to play basketball and began to gain, wealth for himself, he used that to give back to the community. He opened up schools. He started charitable organizations. He's worked in Hollywood on some movies. He's done film. Like there's so many things that, he allowed one talent to fuel several passions that he had on the inside of him. And he's able to walk in his purpose based on one thing that he started with, which was basketball. And so sometimes it may start with one thing that fuels multiple things placed on the inside of you. And so when you have the money, you're like, you know what? I've always wanted to own a car dealership. I think I'm gonna buy one. And so that's what I admire about these athletes is that, especially the ones that don't just focus on basketball. Like they venture out into other areas, other passions, other things that they've always wanted to do. Um, with the wealth that they've gained as being a basketball player or any other sport where you can make a lot of money. I truly admire that. But just know that you don't have to be wealthy to do that as well. You don't have to be wealthy. You can volunteer. There's so many outlets when it comes to the internet. There's Etsy where you can sell your artwork. There's YouTube where you can show, your interior design. There's YouTube when you can show your makeup designs, your makeup, how you put together different colors on your face. There's Instagram where you could do interior design. There's so many apps out there where you can sell your music. So just know you don't have to have a lot of money to walk in purpose. You don't have to have a lot of money to execute the passions. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. Here I am. I wrote a book. I didn't wait for a publisher to pick me up to write the book. Write the book. If you are called to write a book, write the book and then start there and then pray and seek God and then allow Him to show you what the next steps are. Can I tell you I didn't write this book by myself? Can I tell you that I realized there's no other college book out there that has a corresponding activity book? Can I tell you that it was a God thing who shared with me that no, write an activity book to go along with it? So whatever you do, no, you can't do it alone. You got to have a community of people around you. You got to have God to have your back, to give you guidance, to give you wisdom, and to let you know when to move, when to stop, when to say no. Because that's important too. Everything that glitters is not gold. Every opportunity is not the best opportunity. So it's important to have God on your side to give you guidance and give you wisdom and direction in everything that you do as you walk forward in purpose. And so just know, as a college student, or even as a high school student, or a person that may even just be graduating from college, just know it's okay if you don't know your true purpose right away. Can I tell you, I didn't know my purpose? Well, I had an idea of what my purpose was in high school, but it was completely different when I got in college, and it was completely different when I graduated from college. So just know it's okay if you don't know your purpose right away. It unfolds. Your purpose evolves. And just know as well, God does not waste an experience, and that's good or bad. He will always turn it around for our good and for his glory. And he displayed that in the book of Esther. And so just know, working at McDonald's, God will use it for his glory in the end. I've had some jobs where I'm like, God, why am I here? I don't even like education. I had no intentions of working in education. My mom was an educator. I was like, no, thank you. Can I tell you I worked in education for 6 years? Can I tell you the first 4 years were amazing? The last 2 years were horrible. Can I tell you in hindsight, I've gotten enlightened of why God wanted me to work in education so that I could get the background experience to write this book, to share information with you, to talk about some of the items in my activity book. So, again, God does not waste an experience. So, don't complain when you're in certain working at certain jobs, doing certain things, because in hindsight, it'll all make sense in the end. And then I just recommend, as far as some wisdom, try out everything and narrow down which major or career aligns with your passions and your natural abilities. Again, had I known that project management was a thing, back in when I was in college, I would have gotten a degree in project management. I actually got my degree in economics. I still have no clue what what God is going to do with this economics degree. I am trading stocks. Maybe that helps. I don't know. But just I already know He's going to get the glory out of it. I got a master's degree in sport management. Economics and sport management don't even go together. But you know what? I studied abroad in London in my sport management program and met my husband. So I'm like, if the sport management program didn't do anything else, I met my husband. And so again, God turned it around for my good. And I'm proving to you even now a person who got a bachelor's degree in economics, a master's degree in sport management, and a postmaster's degree in project management. Can I tell you once again that purpose evolves? Purpose evolves, and God gets the glory out of all of it. And He works it around for my good. And even now, even though I have three totally different degrees, it all makes sense of um, why God allowed me to continue in those programs, you know? And so, lastly, and most importantly, when it comes to purpose as a high school, as a college student, as a young adult graduating from college, seek God, seek His face. Like Esther, it may require fasting, it may require prayer, it is going to require seeking God for guidance on where you should go and what you should do. And be honest and just say, God, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I want to do. I think I do, but I don't know. So you're gonna have to guide me. You're gonna have to help me on this because the Bible even says God knows the plans for us. He knew us even before we were in our mother's womb. And so, had I taken the time to truly seek God on my purpose, I probably wouldn't have wasted as much time as I've had, in my early 30s. And so, I strongly encourage you, seek him early, seek him often, and continually as you go along your journey in life, and he will guide and direct you. And so I've been saying this prayer on every episode that I've been doing when it comes to college tips. I just pray that the eyes of your understanding be enlightened of what God has called you to, and that God will fulfill every purpose and plan that He has for your life. And so I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, just be sure to like, subscribe, even share with someone that you think may need it, who may just be in a place where they don't know who they are, they don't know what their purpose is, they're just in a hopeless place. Just know that there is hope. There is hope, and God is our hope. So I hope once again you enjoyed this message, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.